How did Smash It start?
Yeah, Smash It started in, I believe, 1998. I was born in 97. So what happened was my uncle Jeff and my uncle Rusty used to work for Paulus Demolition Derbies. They just did, a couple county fairs around Ohio. And then the guy that put it on basically was fed up with it, didn't really want to deal with all the people and all the drama and everything like that. So he pretty much went ballistic at a derby one day and like declared that he was selling. And my dad and uncles just so happened to be there, and pretty much, I don't know, I wasn't there, obviously. I don't know if they bought it on the spot, but
Okay.
they bought it for $2,500. It came with 8 county fair contracts and then the old Smash It trailer that we still use to this day when we have multiple derbies in one day. So
Sure.
it's pretty cool.
That's
It's
that. How big is your team?
all in all, we probably have probably 10 or 12 people that go around to all the county fairs that really help us out, whether it's inspecting or taking pit passes or anything. All the
Okay.
people that work for us all summer are already at Blizzard Bash and Bash for Cash, so we're really like a tight knit group. We talk to each other pretty much every day, so
So how
it's
does
like
that
a
work?
lot
You
of
guys have
family.
shows on the same day? You know, multiple shows on the same day?
Yeah, yeah. So like we have 36 shows in total if you count Blizzard Bash, the Bash for Cash, and Capital City.
Okay.
And so, just so happens that a couple of county fairs that we have, the fairs want them on, certain dates. So, what will happen is my dad will go out and do one with our split crew, and then Chuck, which is my cousin and Jeff's son, will go out and do another one. So
Okay.
it's pretty hectic, but all the people that have been working for us have been working for us forever. So we don't really, boss them around. They know what they're doing at this
Sure.
point.
So are you, I mean, I'm assuming you're at one of the shows or all of the shows at all
Yeah,
times? Yeah.
right. I'll be at all the shows except for, the ones that we have double booked. But
Sure. So what do you, I mean, as far as when you go to a show, are you teching? Are you just officiating? Just
it
kind of
it really depends. Like
logistics?
I feel the gaps at the county fairs for sure. One day I'll be in the trailer taking registrations. One time I'll be, inspecting and flagging the derby. It just really depends on, who is working for us that day, what we need. I've done everything from sell pit passes, t-shirts, the registration trailer, flagged, inspected. I've pretty much done every job nowadays,
Sure.
so I know just most of what I'm doing.
Right. Is anyone doing it full time or is it all side jobs for everybody?
It's my dad and I's full-time gig, and then everybody else really just does it on the side.
Okay. Yeah.
So he's on the phone all day, really. So while he's talking to people, I usually do all the administration stuff, or I do all the social media stuff on the Smash It page. So
Yeah. And as I tell everyone, not everyone is in tune with the social media. There's a lot that goes into it. There's a lot that it takes to even just to post like daily or every other day. It seems like it's easy, but it's really not. It's time consuming.
yeah, like lately I've been posting like driver spotlights, basically. So
Yep.
I have to sift through Serena and everybody else's that hundreds and thousands of pictures just to find the coolest one that I can find of certain people. So
Right.
that takes a lot more time than people really think about.
Oh yeah, for
I
sure.
have a whole album on my phone where I just got smart about it, and if I see a cool picture, I'll save it already so I can use it
Sure.
later.
Nice. Nice, nice. Yeah, it's you guys got a handful of big shows. I mean, Capital City. Blizzard Bash, Bash for Cash. I mean, they're all well-known shows, that's for sure.
Yeah, yeah, they definitely. I mean, can't start that kind of show overnight though. The Bash for Cash has been since 2008, and it wasn't even till 2014, I believe, was when we first started paying 10,000 to win. So
Sure.
it's really just compounded into what it is today.
Right. Right. Yeah, you must have a lot of drivers though down there to be able to do multiple shows in a weekend. And I mean, we struggle up here to get drivers at one show that's got a lot of money, and there's not really any other shows around.
Right. I feel like Ohio's really like the derby capital of the world. Like an average county fair here in Ohio probably has 50 to 60 cars, and then there are some county fairs with 100 plus cars, 120 plus cars.
Wow.
So I feel like there's just more people into the whole sport around here rather than more out west, like where you guys are from.
Right. No, it's super cool to see. I mean, I wish it was like that around here. Maybe 15 years ago it was like that, but as time goes on, people are quitting and I don't know, apparently not getting their kids into it, or maybe it wasn't publicized enough around here.
Right.
That's kind of what we're trying to do, get it out in the media as much as possible. So,
Right. It's
but
pretty hard for you guys to get, aftermarket parts and all that kind of stuff too.
yeah, there's getting to be quite a few guys around the area though that are making parts, so it
Yeah.
helps. Yeah, there's there's I wouldn't say spin-offs, but there's a few guys that bought plasma tables. I think Dixon, he's one of them. One of our point sponsors, Jordan Simic, with Mohawk Metalworks. They all bought plasma tables kind of during COVID, really, and
Right.
kind of played around with it. Now they started. I wouldn't say they do everything, but they do a lot of this stuff. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's good.
I'm the guy that still tries to build most of his own stuff, just cause that's just how I always have kind of built. Other than some of the necessities, but
Right. You don't really need all the fancy parts. Like if you go around all the derbies and look at, the guys that win, everybody knows who they are. If you really look at their cars, they're most of the time it's really not all that fancy stuff that everybody has. It's really just, the same
right.
set they've been running for 20, 30 years.
Well, I assume you know Brady Larson. He's ran a
Yeah.
handful of
Oh
your
yeah.
shows. If you look
Yeah.
at his car close enough, um, almost all of his stuff's homemade, and
Right.
he's one of the best drivers around. He
Right.
wins
Exactly.
almost everywhere he goes. If not winning, he's top five. It's
Right.
almost all homemade.
It's pretty cool to see that.
Yeah,
Everybody, I feel like on the outside looking in, I would think that I needed that, new parts and all that kind of stuff, but
right.
it's
No,
all the same.
yeah, yeah.
Steel is steel at the end of the day.
So you got Bash for Cash coming. That's a big
Yep,
one.
yep. Next weekend, we
Yeah.
got 12 classes and 531 cars signed up,
Oh,
pre-registered.
oh wow.
Yeah, so what we usually do is we'll take 50 in all the classes except for we took obviously the three-man team show, we took 20 teams, only
Okay.
in with 17 right now. And
Sure.
then for the Smash It Mini class, we took 100 entries in that, and that's full. So we'll have heats and features in that class for
Wow.
10,000.
Yeah, I'm scrolling through all of your drivers list. It's unreal. I mean, we
Yeah,
don't get to see things like this around here, so it's cool to see.
right.
A lot of big names in there just from the quick scrolling I'm doing.
Right. I feel like the Bash for Cash is really it's similar in the fact this year that the pro stock teams is a team class like Blizzard Bash, but I feel like Blizzard Bash on your side of the world is more of the show that everybody wants to run, where
Right.
everybody in our area really wants to run the Bash for Cash. So I feel
Sure.
like it's not this on the same level. I feel like Blizzard Bash is a way bigger show, a lot more action, but
Sure.
it's still crazy. The Bash for Cash is definitely county fair on steroids, so to speak.
Yeah. We've had a few people from around here run it, but I guess off the top of my head, I don't know of anyone that's ever done well. are good at it.
Yeah.
You know, if the one guy I do know that ran it, oh my gosh, that's probably 6 years ago already. I think it was like a 17-hour drive from
She,
here. So, you know, that's kind of that's for me anyways, that's stretching it. That's getting pretty far.
right. Right. I can understand, guys that don't want to do that. Obviously, that would not be a fun time. It'd be cool to see, people that run Blizzard Bash and, people from Minnesota and out that way come over to the Bash. But obviously, with gas prices and everything else, I completely
All
understand.
right. And then Muse has his show next weekend, so
Right.
I'm
That
assuming he'll pull most of his,
right.
Wisconsin slash Minnesota, people.
Yeah, I was looking at the lineup for that. That looks pretty good.
Yeah, that should be a pretty good show.
Yeah.
Should be pretty good. Um, I see you got a lot of vendors on the list. Lots of vendors.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome to see how the sports came together where there's so many vendors involved doing different things. They're all not the same, which is nice to see as well.
Right.
Um, who is Derby Nation? Are they filming for you guys?
Yeah, they'll be doing the live stream for us.
Okay, cool. Yeah, they've grown too. I mean, they're all over. They're at almost all of the bigger shows, I should say.
Right. I feel like Derby Nation nowadays is starting to be like the ESPN for Derby. So
Yeah,
it's like, 3, 4 years ago, there wasn't too many of the bigger shows on there. But now I feel like, every weekend you could watch a Derby. So
right.
that's pretty cool to see.
No, it's super cool. And then you got a few handful of guys. Well, High Octane, you met with them. They're starting to
Yeah.
film quite a bit, and you got All for
Yeah.
Him.
Track Shot Live, all of them guys. Yeah.
Yep. So there is other options, but yeah, Derby Nations made it more I know they cost money, but they made it more streamlined, definitely, for the
Right.
community.
Right.
So it's easy. I mean, I guess I look at Derby Nation, it's easy for someone that's outside of the Derby world. Like if I say I'm going to run somewhere, I can tell my family just go to this link, boom, it's there. It's super, super easy in that aspect.
Right. For sure. It's
Yeah.
like a pay-per-view like WrestleMania or something like that.
Right. Well, hopefully someday these derbies get the views that WrestleMania gets.
Right. I don't know if we'll ever get that big like a NASCAR NFL type of level, but I feel like the sport has progressed in the last few years where, maybe 5, 10 years down the line will maybe be as big as, dirt track racing or something like
Right.
that. I feel like
Yeah, I still think I've said this a few times. I still think there needs to be an overarching body, kind of like your NASCAR and
right,
you know, otherwise everyone has, you know how it is. Every promoter's
right.
got their own idea. If you have an overarching body over everybody, well then it's kind of, a set in stone rule set.
It's just weird that you play a basketball game in Ohio versus North Dakota. It's the same rules, but if you
Yep.
have a derby in Ohio versus North Dakota, the rules and even the building like culture,
Interp-
so to speak,
Interpretation, everything.
yeah. It so I don't know if rules across the 50 states that could work, but if you had one for each state or each region that
Right.
would be more realistic. I think that you could potentially do it for like the bigger shows like Blizzard Bash and Mayhem and
Right.
all those kind of shows, but you'd have to have the same inspection crew. But can that whole crew get off that much work from their full-time job? So I mean,
Got to be, that's the whole thing. If it's an overarching body, it's got to be a full crew, they're full-time employees. Like
right,
that's their job every weekend.
right,
I mean, it would be a big overtaking, but I mean, yeah, it's possible, but someone's got to start it. That's the other problem.
right,
Most likely will step on a lot of toes doing it.
right, exactly.
So,
Everybody wants it their way and not any way else.
yeah, no, yeah, there's too many people that are trying to reinvent the wheel or just do things to ruin other promoters and in that sense. So it is sad to see that kind of stuff, but
Right,
sometimes you can only stop it at, stop so much.
right.
I see you guys added super stock teams class at Blizzard Bash.
Street stock weld, yeah,
Street
but
stock.
it's basically the same rules
Yeah,
as Sam's. I think there's only a few differences.
sure.
But what had happened was we got a good amount of national teams to come back, and then we only had 6 qualifying teams.
Sure.
So we thought about it, and why don't we just combine it? So it's gonna be a 20 team national mod bracket, and then to replace the heats that qualifying would have had, we're
Right.
having the street stock weld team. I'm not sure exactly what classes will run on what days. We haven't quite figured that out. We're gonna figure that out after the Bash for Cash.
Right.
So look out for more along those lines in June or so. But
Right.
I think a lot of people wanted that class. I think it's really the most popular class in that area right now. So I mean, one, you got to give the people what they want, and really, if we're being realistic, I think it'll be a better show that way.
Right. Did you already, I'm assuming you already put it out for people to sign up?
Yeah, yeah, it sold out as quick as you'd think it did.
Yeah. I kind of figured. Anything with like street stock, super stock, whatever, bone stock, that stuff seems to just fly off the shelf usually.
Right. Yeah, for sure. It's a lot less of a build. It's a lot cheaper
Right.
nowadays. People are going to that route rather than the kicker cars or the mod cars. So
Right.
it's just getting it. The rules. It's all circle. So I mean, right now we're just into the stalker phase of it. So here in
Right.
3 years, I'm sure we'll be adding more steel, but we'll see how that goes.
Right. Right. So you said you have something similar. So your pro stock at Bash for Cash is similar to your like national class or
No, no, pro stock is more similar to like a street stock weld, but a little bit more. You're allowed a hump plate and a couple
okay.
of other things. You're not allowed down bars here in Ohio and in this area. You don't we really don't run down bars like I feel like a lot of people. It's common practice out there, so that's another difference.
Okay.
But like the smash it class that we have, that's basically a pro stock car, except the only difference is in the pro stock class you're allowed a lower cradle and a mid plate, and then the smash it class you're allowed a full protector and all that kind of stuff.
Okay. What's your hottest or biggest or the class everyone wants to get into for Bash for Cash? What's kind of the most sought after class?
I mean, really, they all fill up pretty quick. I'd say just because there's so many people running it nowadays, the street stock classes are the ones that fill up the fastest.
Sure.
But I mean, there's just flat out more street stock drivers nowadays
Right.
than the built kind of cars.
Are you guys into the van stuff down there? Is it getting
Yeah,
bigger?
yeah, we got a van class. We started that, I don't know, 3 4 years ago, and we're starting to have more of them in the county fairs. I feel like the compact cars and the minivans. It's much easier of a build, much cheaper. I feel like that might be taken over at the county fair level around here at least.
Yeah, the vans, and maybe not so much here yet. I think it's still kind of new yet here. We only did it last year was kind of the first year it was throughout shows, but like Minnesota and then South, it seems like it's really taken off in the last couple of years. Everyone's running vans. I don't know. Something new.
Yeah, I want to try one day. It looks like fun. There's a lot more people that like to hit in those kind of classes though. It's weird how that happens.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. We'll see. I built the van. It's my first van too. I mean, I've ran full-size cars my whole life, so we'll see how the van works out, but I don't know. It's weird to build something when you're not used to building it. If that makes
Right.
sense.
You got to relearn everything.
totally out of my comfort zone building it. That's for sure. You know, not like your Fords or your GMs. You know where to bend them. You know where to plate them.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's but I don't know. It's something to get out of the house and try something new. We got a few guys around here that are slowly getting into the sport, so that's kind of the Vans is where it's at. So we're kind of trying to help them get started as much as we can. You know, everyone gets busy, but if we can, we try to help on weekends, help these other guys build cars. Just, you know, some of them weren't brought up with a mechanical background or the parents don't do it. So, you know, how
Right,
are they going to
right.
learn without someone telling them or teaching them?
Right, exactly. Like, I mean, honestly, I wasn't really into derbies growing up until, after I graduated college and really moved back after COVID. So, building cars with my dad, I mean, I had to relearn everything. He'd get, so frustrated with me on, what it he because I never really spent too much time in the shop. So, even simple thing like, hey, go get me that crescent wrench. So, what's a crescent wrench? Like, so
Yeah,
I had to at instead of learning that at, 4 or 5 years old, I'm learning that at 24 or 25 years old. So
right.
it's just a weird thing.
Yeah, nothing wrong with it though. It's cool to see people getting into it and you know, the people you meet throughout it, even if you don't go out to win, there's a lot of people that don't. They're out there to just have fun.
Right.
It's all about the people that you meet throughout the sport, you know, not even just over the whatever 12 or 14 years I've ran, but just in this short half a year that I've just done this podcast alone, the amount of people I've met and I would consider friends now is like substantial. It's a lot of people.
Right. I mean, there's people that you really only see them at the derbies every year, but the 1 or 2 or 3 times you see them, it's as if you are family.
Right. Exactly.
It's
Exactly.
I don't
So,
think you really see that in other sports or other motorsports like that. I feel like it's more of a competition where you're just with your team or by
right.
yourself. Where it's more of a get together at a derby.
Right. So, do you guys get a lot of drama at shows? I mean,
Oh,
most promoters do, but
I think we definitely get the most drama for sure.
yeah, yeah,
Just just being the nature of the beast being as big as it is. I mean, you know how it is.
yeah,
There's not going to not be any drama at the Bash or Cash. I,
right.
I think we got everything planned for, but there's always those few situations or few things that happen that can't plan for. That that's what everybody talks about.
Yeah, and people get loaded, and that's the problem with social media.
Yeah,
Is right away they go on social media. You know, 10 years ago, maybe even more than that, maybe about 10 years ago, they would have got loaded for the same thing, but you would have never heard about it unless you were like friends of a friend of a friend. Or now
right,
it hits social media and it's like boom, you know,
right.
it's out
In
there right
front of
away.
in front of the world, whether it's the full story or only half the story or whatever it is.
Yeah, I always look at it as there's always two sides to every story. So yeah, you know what they say. Yeah, you know, it makes you feel like the other person's in the wrong, but you never heard the other side yet. There's probably a totally different, you know, stuff that wasn't said or it's
Right,
just it, but people like to post it. Grabs a little attention.
right. I mean, I'm not the one. I mean, obviously, I use Facebook with running the Smasher page and all that kind of stuff, but I don't like to be the type of person to go back and forth with people over Facebook. I mean, it's
Well,
it's not going to solve anything.
well, and at the end of the day, you guys are running a business.
Right,
We're in the same boat. At the end of the day, when you're running a business, I mean, you don't want the notion of your business is the one commenting back to people and talking crap, you know.
right,
Yeah, there's a handful of times that I've read comments and it just pisses you off. It's like you wish you could just say something back. It's like I just gotta let it go because
Right.
That's exactly what they're feeding into. They want you to say something.
They want you to reply. That's all they want
Yeah,
is just to know that you or they bothered you. That's all they want.
exactly. Exactly. So is everything's full at Bash for Cash then you said. Is Blizzard Bash full now too?
Blizzard Bash is full. Bash for Cash is not full.
Oh, it's not
We
full.
Yeah, so we have entries available in the Frank the Tank. We have probably 16 or so entries in that, and then in the Relic class, there's over 30. Just those being, 63 and older cars. There's really not too many out there, so it is
Right.
what it is there. Originally, we invited 20 pro stock teams, and as of right now, we only have 17, just with family stuff and life and whatever else people
Right.
drop out for whatever reason. So I mean, if somebody wants to build 3 cars in a week over the weekend and want the bash for cash, they can, but I
Right.
don't think that's very realistic at this point.
Right. Right. Almost have to be something you have sitting around at this point.
Right.
Do you guys sell parts too? So I noticed on social media you guys are, well, I don't know if it's you or whomever. I think it's normally you who's posting it, like door skins, tubes and metal,
Yeah.
things like that.
So we sell them for Steve Robinson. That's Adept Products.
Okay.
Steve's getting older and he's really busy at his shop, so he doesn't really want to, go out and vend and, talk to all the people that stop by and try and buy bumpers and door skins. So really what ended up happening is like we would just buy the bumpers and door skins in bulk, and then we sell them, and then all the proceeds would go to pay out. What last time we raised $11,400 for our courthouse crash show that we had at the end of last month.
Sure.
So we'll be selling stuff at the bash for cash, and afterwards throughout all the summer. So not quite sure what we're gonna put the money towards quite
Right.
yet, but obviously I'll put it out there once we do figure that out.
Right. Right. That's cool. You got an extra way to maybe make up some payments, or not payments, but make up payouts at some of these
Right.
county shows or whatever.
Right. Like really a big reason why we started it this year at the fair convention, we asked all the contracts that were up for the fairs for extra money so we can pay out more money. Well, some fairs liked that idea and went with us. Some fairs didn't. Well, for the couple fairs that we still have on the old contract, we want to increase the payouts. So we wanted to find a way where we wasn't you know digging out of what we already have made. We wanted to you know
Right.
do something that way.
I noticed you guys went to PR. Was it PRI you went to? That
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. We went last year just to walk around. I'd never been there before, so
sure.
I just wanted to check it out. I thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah. Have you been to SEMA before?
No, I've just heard about it.
Yeah. That's probably one you should put on your bucket list.
When exactly is that?
Well, it's probably a bad time for you.
Is
It's
it during the
usually it's
summer?
it's usually is it the first or second weekend of November normally? So
Uh,
yeah, it's a
yeah,
bad time
we're
for you.
usually busy that time of year.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm pretty sure that's when it is, because
Right.
we were trying to decide whether we were going to go to SEMA or Blizzard Bash last year, so I think it's around that time.
Nice. I mean, like I put a post on Facebook a couple weeks ago about, we were looking into having a booth there this year maybe, and I'm looking for, somebody or, maybe even just borrowing a car, somebody build a car and, whether
Right.
it's a bash mod kind of build or, something that, because I feel like anybody that goes to PRI or anybody in actual motorsports doesn't really know what derbies are. They kind of think of rednecks and hillbillies and junk.
Yeah, they don't
So,
think about the engineering and the thought behind all these builds, and no one
Right,
really knows it. I mean, you hear all the stories or the people that bring them to like car shows and stuff, and people are like just wow, amazed by
right,
what it is, and to
right,
us, that's an everyday thing, but not to the average motorsport person.
right. So I mean, I think it'd be perfect to just put it in their face and people can actually look and crawl under it and see everything that actually
Right,
does go on in those kind of cars. So I mean, because realistically, in a even in a Blizzard Bash or a Smash It class car, you got minimum 25,000 at least in that kind of builds.
right,
Some guys are putting 15, 20,000 in the engine, and you can get up to crazy 40, $50,000 pretty quick.
right, right. Yeah, it hasn't gotten any cheaper.
Right,
Hasn't gotten any cheaper. And if you're gonna play in those classes anyways, it hasn't
right,
been cheaper. Because trying to keep up, you got to keep up with the engine builds too, or got to have the power to push that heavy a car and all that stuff.
right.
So it's in those big classes, the mod classes and stuff, they're hard to keep up with just due to it's almost to the point where not saying there's nothing they can find to do anymore, but they've almost exhausted most options, most gray areas anyways.
Right. Yeah. What is it on a Blizzard Bash car? Maybe 4.5 inches of the frame isn't plated or something.
Yeah, a lot. Yeah.
It's
So
crazy.
yeah, they've evolved, but there's I got pictures of there's a few people that build the Blizzard Bash cars around here in the mod class anyways. And I don't you could show that to most any car guy and they're just like astonished by the work that and detail that's put into them.
Yeah,
Like
absolutely.
I usually have a picture of Tori Hyde's car on my phone for people that want to, if I give them a reference of a car to see, and he's always got some of the cleanest GM
Right.
builds around. And just
Sure.
a couple of years ago, what they started doing with their trunks, is like unreal. And
Yeah.
people are like, even older derby guys that are out of the sport now that see it are like, wow, can't believe it. That's insane.
Right. It's crazy. Like my dad and my uncle Rusty growing up, they worked at like a sod farm, and on the weekends, the guy that owned the farm would hire them basically to build their derby cars, and he had a stable of them. So
Yep.
they'd spend all summers building 10 Imperials or whatever he had, and you can only build one car in today's day and age in that amount of time.
Right. Right. How do you how do you guys or how did you guys ever land on Buddy as being your one of does he announce just Blizzard Bash or does he go to all your shows?
He just goes to Blizzard Bash in Capital City.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, Buddy's been at Blizzard Bash for, I believe, as long as it started. So we didn't really want. I don't
Sure.
see any reason to fire him. I think he does a great job.
Right. No, I wasn't saying that. I was just
Yeah,
curious.
yeah. But we can kind of just grandfathered him.
Sure. Okay. That's do you have announcers like that at your other bigger shows or is that kind of the only style of announce? I mean, probably have announcers, but like someone that's track side on the track, interviewing, that sort of thing.
No, like at our county fairs and at the Bash for Cash, Jeff Rush is our announcer. He's really, in my opinion, he's probably the best announcer out there. He's been doing it for as long as I can remember. When he was 16 and 17, his dad had Rushway demolition derbies, so he's kind
Okay.
of been around it his whole life.
Sure.
So he'll be doing announcing from the Crow's Nest, and then for like the county fairs that we have multiple, we have a few other announcers. One of them is Gary Zorns.
Sure.
He runs derbies with us around here in Ohio.
Okay.
So if you watch the Gut and Go class at No Mercy Dead Man Show, he was the blue and white car.
Okay. Okay. And you ran Whiskey City, right?
Yeah, for about 2 minutes, if
Oh,
that.
had bad luck, I'm assuming. Is that what
Yeah,
you mean by that?
that's what I would call it, yeah.
Okay. Okay.
But,
Yeah, there was a lot of good drivers out there. A lot.
yeah, for sure. Whiskey City, I mean, even last year, like, with the one and done format, I feel like even last year it was a really great show. I thought last year was better than Capital City, honestly, with just the pace of it. So
Right.
even driving home from Whiskey City last year, I was, putting my 2 cents in, and really, because realistically, I understand that the driver has so much time in the car, but you know the fans in the stands don't want to watch you run your car to save it for the feature. They want to watch you run
Right.
your car. So,
Right.
and you know, capital city time of year, everybody's not really wanting to do a whole bunch of work. So I feel like the one and done situation is a lot more fun for everybody.
Right. Yeah, no, it it is kind of moving that way. A lot of the older drivers to keep them in the sport, you guys gonna have to go to some more one and done formats just to keep them running so they don't have to work on their cars in the pits.
Right.
And we see it around here, it used to be a pretty heavy limited weld, and now it's toned back to like a stock, maybe super stock, and just for the fact people don't want to be working on stuff near as much.
Right.
And I don't blame them. I mean, it is a lot of work involved, a
But
lot.
it's definitely a full time job outside of work, just
Mhm.
building a derby car, especially one of those kind of builds.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And when you're traveling with a car, you want it to the best of your ability because if you're going whatever X amount of hours, you don't want to go with junk. Anyways, I
Right.
don't.
Right. Right.
Yeah,
You don't build a whole car to, go to the derby and lose. You want it to be the
right.
best of the best that you can be.
Exactly. Exactly. No, I'll be can't say for sure I'll be watching Bash for Cash. I'd like to, but we'll be at Memorial Madness. Otherwise we would most likely be watching it. So I hope you guys have a great show. I'm sure you will. A lot of cars, which is awesome to see. A lot of good drivers. Do you have are those public? All the flyers you sent me?
Yeah, they're public. I originally uh put out the drivers list about 3 weeks ago, and then today I updated it with the most up to date. Few
Okay,
people had, misspellings and all that kind of stuff. So it's
perfect.
all out there for everybody to see.
Sure. And is it just on your Smash It page? Is that where you posted all of it?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, for the listeners, people that don't watch the visual portion, you can hop on Smash It's Facebook page, check out all the drivers lists. Lots of drivers. Did you say there's about 500 cars? Is that what I heard at
Yeah.
the beginning? Yeah.
531 pre-registered.
Yeah. So it's going to be a hell of a show. A lot of cars. Got Derby Nation. So you can hop on there and watch it all weekend. I mean, there's all sorts of action to be had this weekend. Is there anything else you got for me?
Yeah, I mean, I gotta give a shout out to our whole staff, definitely our inspection crew, all of our sponsors, all the drivers, and the fans that come out. Without all of them, it's really just an empty fairgrounds on Memorial Day weekend. We're just kind
Yep.
of the people that are behind the scenes, putting the track in place, and filing the paperwork, and everything else is in their hands, really.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, between the spectators and the drivers and then all of the help that comes along with it, that's your show right there. Nobody
Yeah,
really knows or cares about what you're doing behind the scenes as long as it happens, right?
right, exactly.
So, well, I do appreciate you hopping on. I'm glad to spread the word about Bash for Cash, Smash It. Your whole crew has really kind of shaped our derby world. Like I said, I've heard Smash It since I was a kid. Um, so it's cool to see how it's evolved. All your big shows. It's nice to hop on and chat with you.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me. I really definitely appreciate what you do, just getting the word out. And, like I was telling you earlier, my dad and I definitely listen as much as we can. just to
Sure.
learn, even one or two things if we're listening to a podcast. So I think it's a pretty cool thing you're doing.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate it. And